tonight we are going to show the video about, and we will start with the biography of the author by Nicole Rees.
The biography of Charles Dickens. British novelist Charles Dickens was born on February 7 in 1812 in Portsmouth, England. Over the course of his writing career, he wrote the developed classic novels, Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, A Tale of Two Cities, and obviously Great Expectations. On June 9 in 1870, Dickens died of a stroke in Kent, England, leaving his final novel, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, unfinished. Famous British author Charles Dickens was born Charles John Upham Dickens on February 7 in Portsmouth on the southern coast of England. He was the second of 8 children. His father, John Dickens, was a naval clerk who dreamed of striking it rich. Charles Dickens' mother, Elizabeth Barrow, aspired to be a teacher and school director. Despite his parents' best efforts, the family remained poor. Nevertheless, they were happy in the early days. In 1816, they moved to Chatham, Kent, where young Charles and his siblings were free to roam the countryside and explore the old castle and Rochester. In 1822, the Dickens family moved to Cametown, a poor neighborhood in London. By then, this family's financial situation, had grown dire, as John Dickens had a dangerous habit of living beyond the family means. Eventually, Jones was sent to prison for debt in 1824, when Charles was just 12 years old. Following his father's imprisonment, Charles Dickens was forced to leave school to work at a bootlegging factory alongside the River Thames. At the rundown Roden writing factory, Dickens is earning 6 shillings a week, leveling post of blacking, a substance used to clean fireplace. It was the best he could do to support his family. Looking back on the experience, Dickens saw it the moment he said goodbye to John's full innocence, stating that he wondered how it could be so easy cast away at such young age. He felt abandoned and betrayed, but the idols were supposed to take care of him. Their sentiments would later become true, a recurring theme in his writing. Much of his relief Dickens was permitted to go back to school when his father received a family inheritance and used to pay off his debts. But when Dickens was 50, his education was pulled out from under his once again. In 1827, he had to drop out of school and work as an office boy to contribute to his family's income. As it turned out, the job became an early launching point for his writing career. Um, Within a year of being here, Dickens began a freelance reporter at law courts of London. Just a few years later, he was reporting to Maher London newspaper. In 1833, he began submitting sketches to various magazines and newspapers under the pseudonym Boss. In 1836, his clippings were published in his first book, Sketches by Boss. Dickens' first success caused the of Catherine Howard, who he soon married. Catherine would raise Charles with a brood of 10 children before the couple separated in 1858, and this is all.
Hi, I'm going to talk about the book. Alright. In the book, the principal character is Pip. So, the story starts when Pip lives with his sister and his husband and her husband in a village. One day he meets a man who had just escaped of the jail, and he asks him if he had food or something to give them. Pip takes the food and gives the man. It doesn't problem because he was so great person. One day Miss Havisham invited him to play in the house, and there he knows a girl called Stella, but she was so proud and refused to eat because he was poor. He doesn't have money like her and doesn't like their class. But then Pip's sisters is invited for things of love, and he started to apprenticeships as a blacksmith for Miss Havisham, and she pays him for the help. One day a man says to Miss Havisham that her came the dinner for Pip, and where's the object of the dinner? The object are for that dinner was for Pip that he can dress good and he can go to London with a healthy family. With that family was sent the money for Pip. After Pip was living in London, he learns that Stella will go to live in London too, but also he learned that his sister had died for the problems of health. When he knows that, he first was happy for because Stella will live too in London, and maybe he can't have or talk with her about the feelings. But two are sad because his sister had died, and he doesn't there for in this moment. The man had a school. The man who he knows that at the first of the book was Provis, the man who just escaped of the jail, that calls Provis. And one day he renewed it, but Pip says that he doesn't know feel good without his life right now, living in London and with a healthy family, because his life was like complicated, something like that, and he missed the beaches when he lied with, bueno, well, his sister had died, but he has the husband, and it's like their family, and he missed too his friends and the beach in general. So he tells Provis that he was uncomfortable with his life right now. Um, then this Pip and Herbert, his friend of London, he realized that Provis was illegal in London, and then and they'll tell him that he needs to go to other elsewhere. And finally, he then decides. Pip decides to Stella all the things that he feels about her when he meets him, and then for like the sympathy, what happened that when he knows that she tell her that she can't do that because he was with another man. And when Miss Havisham was about to die, he tells Pip she tells Pip that everything has sense in that point of the book, because Provis that has the man to talk Pip the first, take the fool or jail, was the father of Stella. So when Miss Havisham says that to Pip, Pip was surprised, and then of this, Miss Havisham died. Then Helbert, then of all the die of Miss Havisham, Helbert, Provis, and Pip decides that he goes to London. He goes to London. He don't say where he go, but he decided. But in that process, he are discovered for the police, and Provis had hurt in there. And then of this, the police had a jury for because first Provis had illegal in London, and they are escaping the police, so that's like the crime or something like that. But Provis died during the trial. After this, Helbert says to Pip that he can no go more with him, and this is a low blow, so hard to the person for Pip, and he had a disease, so it goes weeks in being causing, and when he awake finally after so many days, he see that Jose was taking him. Who is Jose in the book? Jose in the book was who takes the money, gives all the things at the first when he had doesn't so many opportunities, who have like when he goes to London with the Pale family. So he loves Jose or something like that, because was like the family, something like this. When Pip is recovering from his illness and returns her Bijax he realized that Jose is going to marry with Biddy. That Biddy was a friend before he go to London. So first he feel like strange because he doesn't imagine that. He talk when he go to the beach again. He was all the time with baby and makes maybe feel good because he doesn't feel good. Then of all the things that happen to him, one of these he decided to go with Hilbert abroad with a new life, with like new opportunities, and that's great for him because a new life begins. And after 11 years, 11 years, he go home in the judge, and for casualty wake, and he find in that house with Stella, and they talk, and she tells him that her marriage doesn't work, and he talks too about the things of the lab, the problems that they have passed, and all the things that, and then he, but things are good between them and become friends, and that's the final of the book, the end. People had good opportunities and like good things in the book to show about the bad things, if we can call bad things. That was the first, the how Stella say no Peter because he was poor, and the things he feel alone, he feel confused, of his sister, but yeah. um the benefits that we can have the book, maybe first was Pete has a good attitude for solve the problems that he had, and we have to take that. We have to good mind for the problems, doesn't think we're the worst. And second, the love of the family. That's important I think, because he goes to London, yeah, but he needs the family, the love, his sister, and that's a benefit. And third, the union. Maybe the union here we saw in her friend and Pip, because when the police take him for the illegal probes, he says, "No, Pip, I can't. I no more. I don't do that." But in the end, when Pip search him, he says, "Alright, I'm going to help you," and that's important, like the friendship, like the friend, or like that. And how we see benefits, we see two disadvantages that gives the book, such as how Pip, such how Stella rejects Pip because they have no money, and that's not thing, because doesn't matter if you had or not. It's the person, no the money that you have. That's I saw that like a disadvantages, and the attitude, maybe like Stella, because you don't have to disappoint nobody for had or not. And second was the Pip do things that he doesn't take, doesn't have to do. And why? Because um I don't see more disadvantages really, because I see more benefits. The only disadvantage that I see is the attitude of Stella that I tell, because this book learns good things, more benefits than disadvantages. So that's all. After we talk about the biography of the author Charles Dickens, what's about the book, the pros and cons of the book, let's talk about why you have to maybe read Great Expectations.
I recommend that people read this book because it has a story full of fantasy, imagination, and teachings. It is very interesting book. Brian saw that annoying cat breed it from children to seniors. Charles Dickens writes in a very good shape, and this is a very good book. So it's really interesting because the story have moments very fun, um, moments of sadness, or much of other feelings. Charles Dickens expressed his feelings very good, and it's a book worth reading.